You can probably hear Jonathan on the phone. He's FaceTiming his mom in to talk to our dog. Quarantine life. Hey guys, hey y'all, hey lovely people, hello lovely people. It's been a little while since I've filmed. Today, we're gonna do a book haul, and it's in 3 parts. The first I filmed a while ago, which is books I got from the library. So here in Connecticut, where I'm staying temporarily, the libraries are open. You can go pick up books. And I picked up 5 books, I think, or 4 books. So I'll insert that little segment that I filmed a while ago here. I've actually already read all of them and returned all of them. And I read and returned a whole other one after that, which was Normal People by Sally Rooney. So that's the first book, I guess, in my haul. And I liked it. I had a deep sort of emotional connection to the main characters. Watching the 2 of them figure out who they are with each other and by themselves, and watching Marianne really struggle, it just sort of, she was such a depository for like male violence and male desire. And so I've had experiences in my life being a depository of those 2 things, and I think I felt like a very deep emotional connection to her. So it was a pretty moving experience to read that book, and challenging and frustrating at times. But I think at the core of it, we're all just kind of bumbling through the world trying to figure out what's going on. So I literally got to go to the library. Well, rewind. I didn't actually get to go into the library. I got to digitally browse the library, put some books on hold, call, make an appointment, show up where there was just a table, and these books were then just sitting on the table, and pick them up, and they are now checked out to me. But I haven't even been able to take out library books in months, so super, super exciting. I got 3 books from the library. I have, I think, 4 more that will become available at some point, and I'll show you those too. But for now, I'm really excited about these 3 books. So the first book that I picked out from the library is Georgette Heyer, The Grand Sophy. And this novelist, I think, was working in the 1920s. Her first book was published in 1921, and she wrote about the Regency period, which is the same period of time as Jane Austen. I love reading female authors from before like the mid 20th century. I feel like, I don't know, you just don't see as many necessarily, and so I love finding new ones. So my grandmother on my mom's side, recommended this to me on a phone call we had a couple of months ago. This author, I asked her what she was reading, and she was reading a Georgette Heyer book. And so I Googled Georgette Heyer, and apparently The Grand Sophy is one of her most beloved works. Apparently she also has a series of like a series of detective novels, which I'm pretty excited about. Georgette Heyer wrote over 50 novels, super impressive, including Regency romances, mysteries, and historical fiction. She was known as the Queen of Regency romance, and was legendary for her research, historical accuracy, and her extraordinary plots and characterizations. So this, I think, counts as a romance book, but a little different from most of the stuff I've been reading recently, but I'm excited. I'm also excited to read a book that my grandmother has read, so I can talk to her about it. So that is one of the things I got from the library. The second book I got was Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer. And he also wrote Everything is Illuminated, and I think the other, Extremely Loud. Yeah, he also wrote Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, which is a book I've been meaning to read for a while. I have it on my shelf and I just haven't read it. But I saw this book, I believe, on Lena Norm's channel, and I am somebody who doesn't eat animals. I am plant-based, and I have been for over 3 years now, and did some stints with vegetarianism even before that. And so I'm excited. I haven't actually really read much literature about veganism, plant-based eating animals. I think the only one maybe is like The Omnivore's Dilemma. But yeah, I'm excited to read this. I'm interested to see if it intersects with climate change at all. I know he wrote another book after this, or someone wrote a book, We Are the Weather, that I also want to read, but I figured this is a good start. Yeah, okay, so that's the next book I'm reading. And then the last book I got from the library, which I'm already halfway through, is Trick Mirror by Yaa Tolentino. This is a collection of essays. It was on Barack Obama's favorite books of 2019. It deals with everything from the internet to reality TV to heroines in novels to feminism to, I don't know. So the subheader is reflections on self-delusion. And her writing style is brilliant. She is so thoughtful, so articulate, and just like really able to pull these academic through lines in a way that's still very approachable and understandable, and I feel so seen. I literally pulled out my journal because it's a library book and I can't highlight and write in it as I probably normally would, and I've just been like writing down quotes and writing down, you know, just thoughts, and I've been so compelled to like, I don't know, I think I'm gonna actually probably buy this book so that I could reread it and write all over it. I think this is gonna be a 5-star read for me. It's blowing my mind right now. It's just right up my alley, so thoughtful, such a conversation on the millennial experience, while she still like is in it. It's it's commentary on, but also with the acknowledgement that she is in and a part of, so there's no like holier than thou, or I don't know. I'll finish it. I'll probably do a whole review on it. I love it. So those are the 3 books I got from the library. I also have a couple of books that I brought, some that I read. I have 3 other books that I have yet to read that I brought or had already in this house. So the first one is Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Maree Brown. I got this last year and I've been really wanting to read it. Shaping change, changing worlds. I feel like having skills, having tools, having thought processes around change and both internal change and systemic change, it's just really helpful. So I'm really excited to read that. The other book I brought from my April book haul is Hot Milk by Deborah Levy. I've seen a couple of people who I really trust like this book. I've also seen some mixed reviews of this book, but it was easy to pack. It was thin and easy to pack, so I'm excited to read it. That will be happening. And this is a book that I have here. Somebody gave this to me years ago, probably like 6 years ago. And it ended up in Connecticut. And it's Cormac McCarthy's All the Pretty Horses. And I've never read a Cormac McCarthy novel. I've heard a lot of things from my father and from just everyone about his writing style, and I don't know, that he's an author to read. And it's a Western. I'm from the West. I grew up in the Southwest, and so I've been meaning to, again, read this for a long time. I think it was an old friend of mine's, one of their favorite books, and they gave it to me, and it's been a little while since I've read it. I've actually also fallen out of touch with this person, so. In a continued effort to divest from Amazon, one of the ways you can check out, I'll link here, is by switching to Storygraph instead of Goodreads. And another way now is to not listen to books on Audible, but instead go through Libby or another library-based, usually listening to audiobook system, especially since I just haven't been listening to audiobooks recently. It's been really difficult for me to get through audiobooks just because I usually listen to them while I'm commuting, and I'm not commuting anywhere. So I have to find a new, maybe I'll start listening to them on walks or something, and I'll bring it back into my life. But because of that, I had to burn through some credits. So I just want to tell you about the books, the little Audible book haul I got. The first is When They Call You a Terrorist, a Black Lives Matter memoir, Patrisse, Khan-Cullors, and Asha Bandele, and it has a foreword by Angela Davis. So I'm really interested in hearing this Audible version because I believe, Patrisse reads it herself, and I'm really interested. I think where I'm most engaged often are books where authors read their own works, or especially in the memoir category. Like, I loved Michelle Obama's Becoming when she read it. I even really enjoyed Trevor Noah's memoir and him reading it. Sorry, you can hear traffic. something about authors reading their own memoirs I really enjoy. So I'm excited about that one. That was the first one. The second one I got is Trick Mirror by Tolentino. And I actually read that already from the library, and it was one of my favorite books of 2020 that I've read so far. It was so incredible. I'm gonna do a full review, I think, but since I got it as a library book, I really wanted to own it in some way. And I think she reads hers as well, and so I just wanted it in some way, and maybe my reread of it will be listening to her. The next book I got is Such a Fun Age by Reid. For those of you who weren't involved in the reading rush, this was the book club pick of the reading rush. I didn't participate in that aspect of the reading rush, but with all of the drama afterwards, it came to my attention that this could be a really good book to read. So I got that in audiobook form. Then I also got The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, and I've had this recommended to me a couple of times. This might be my way to ease back into audiobooks because it's only 3 hours and 30 minutes long. So if I took like an hour walk, like I could get through it in 3 days, and that might be a way to just like remind myself that audiobooks, I think that's the thing, is like I read really, really quickly. Like I probably read at least a page a minute. And so when I'm listening, it's slower going. And I know you can speed it up, and maybe that's what I just need to do, but it feels like it takes me longer to get through audiobooks than if I just like read the book myself. So I got The Poet X. That's a pretty quick one that I could get through, and I've heard really, really good things about it. And the next one I got was Invisible Women by Criado Perez. And this, I believe, is details. Is a nonfiction. Yeah, it says, data is fundamental to the modern world. From economic development to healthcare to education and public policy, we rely on numbers to allocate resources and make crucial decisions. But because so much data fails to take into account gender, because it treats men as the default and women as atypical, bias and discrimination are baked into our systems, and women pay tremendous costs for this bias in time, money, and often with their lives. So where I've noticed I really love listening to audiobooks is when it tends to be nonfiction. So that's one of the reasons I got the Black Lives Matter memoir, and now I want to also listen to Invisible Women. Yeah, so then I also got Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. I've been wanting to read this book for ages, and I just couldn't pass up. So I am going to try listening to it on audiobook, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, the other audiobook I got from Audible is If I Never Met You by Mhairi MacFarlane, and this is just a fun romance book that I have on Audible, so we'll see if I can, I don't know, I'm just trying out different genres to see what I enjoy listening to. The last book I got in this particular haul is the first book of the Harry Potter series. I have such nostalgia with Jim Dale narrating it, or reading it. I have such nostalgia for this specific experience of reading the Harry Potter series. I don't even have the other ones on Audible, just this one. Because when I was growing up, when I was younger, the way I started reading Harry Potter was in book form, but before I could finish the book, my parents and my family took like a family road trip. We had the cassette version of this book on audio with Jim Dale reading it, and we put it on in the car, and we drive around, and it was glorious. Like, I just have such good memories of how much I enjoyed that. It just has such a special place in my heart, and when I hear it, it's like instantly calming. So I feel very conflicted about supporting Harry Potter. However, this book in this form is so comforting to me. And as I'm sort of reconciling what Harry Potter means to me in the wake of J.K. Rowling's transphobia, as well as reckoning with like the fact that that's a comfort in a really stressful and hard time, this pandemic. It's like, that's something I could put on to fall asleep, you know? And maybe the best way I could offset that is to donate the same amount of money that that book cost, which was $14.99 in a monthly Audible fee, to a trans-centered cause. will be how I balance the scales on this one, because it's hard. This is real life. It's real life to try and figure out, like, can you separate art from authors? Can you separate, you know, your experience of reading something from the harm somebody is causing, and like, what is your moral and ethical obligation? And also, like, where do you draw that line? And I think that those are big questions and lots of people are struggling with them. But anyway, that's the end of my Audible section. The next set of books I actually got for free at a free inside the like big grocery chain here is Stop and Shop. And the Stop and Shop in the town of Connecticut where I'm staying has like this huge wall of books. It's like a lending library. You drop some off, you take some. So I have some books I want to offer up to that library, that lending library. But last night, while I was picking up some extra goodies, I found a couple books that I picked up from that library. Yeah, it makes sense. So the first is The Sympathizer by Viet, and you may have heard me talk about this before, and that's because I tried to read this book for the Asian Readathon in May, I believe, and I got it on Audible. I just couldn't get through the audiobook version of it, even though it was really well written and it was fascinating and it was even pretty well narrated. I just had a really hard time with it, and I think it's just because I just couldn't find the time to like listen to the book. Like, listening to the book, just the format of it didn't work. But I've been really wanting to finish it. So I was like 20% through, and I've been really wanting to finish it. So when I saw it for free in the lending library, I was like, oh, perfect. I don't have to buy it twice, and I can get through this book, and then I can drop this back off for the next person to read, since I already own it on Audible. That's the first book. The second book I got there is Drown by Junot Diaz, and he is another, I think, author that has some controversy surrounding him. But again, since this was free, I am not necessarily, like, my taking of this book and reading this book does not put money in his pocket. But I really enjoyed, well, I actually don't know that I loved The Brief and Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde. I think I was like, okay, like neutral on that, but I enjoyed some of his short stories on This Is How You Lose Her. And I think this was his first book. And so I never read it, and I just saw it. And so I think I'm gonna read it, and then yeah, I can just put it right back in the lending library. So this is the second one I got for free. Then the next are a set, and the first one is actually my boyfriend's. So I didn't get this at the lending library, but this just was in his house. We're staying at his parents' house, his mom's house. And I've never read The Hunger Games. So I found the other two in this little, again, lending library, Catching Fire and Mockingjay. And I think I might just read the whole series in one go and see how I don't even think I've seen the movies. I never kind of got in on that craze. So I think I'm gonna just read all through that, and maybe I'll do a video of reading this for the first time. So those are what I got for free from the lending libraries. It's sort of the next section. And then the rest are books that I have bought, which it's a little ridiculous. I just can't stop. I'm like, it's like almost compulsive. I have books, oh shoot, I have a book to pick up from the library. See, I have books at the library, I have books for free, I have books that I'm buying, and I have 2 books from NetGalley. So anyway, whatever. Okay, so let me just back up for a second. I got one of these at the Barnes & Noble next to the house because it came out and I really wanted to support the author. And this is The Death of Vivek Oji. It's by Akwaeke Emeze, and I first heard of this book through The Artisan Geek. She did this beautiful review of it, and it said that it was one of her favorite books, her new favorite books. I think got an arc of it, and ever since I heard her speak about it, I've been really wanting to read it. So I bought it in hardcover. I bought it like pretty soon after it came out. I paid the whole, like, almost $30 for it, and it was incredible. I highly, 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 highly recommend this book. I loved the writing style. I loved the characters. I loved the way that you figured out what was happening in pieces, and the way that, like, it turned a assumptions you made about how things happened or what happened or why things happened, and just turn them slightly so that you were, I don't know, it wasn't like an edge of your seat thing, but you were just like constantly learning something new about the scenario. I also really appreciated reading a book that had trans or non-binary characters in it. Books, and queer characters. I'm trying to like broaden my range of queer reading that I'm doing. And let me just say, this was incredible. Every single person needs to read this book. So, yeah. Emezi is a brilliant author. Okay, so that was the first book I bought. Here's another set of books I bought from Barnes & Noble. So the first is The Overstory by Richard Powers. I've been wanting to read this for a while now. I've heard multiple people tell me really good things about it. And I think I first discovered it, it's been on my TBR for a little bit. Yeah, it's only been out for a few years, 2018. But I first heard about it on the New York Times article I referenced a while back in my Reading for Revolution Earth Day video, which I'll link here. And it was listed as a book vaguely around climate change, and it's about trees. And I've heard it's incredible. I think Lena Norms highly recommended it. A couple of people, my mother recommended it, which is always a good start. Yeah, so I've heard this is really good. So that's another one from Barnes & Noble that I got. And then and then also from that New York Times article, this has been on my climate change TBR for a bit, is Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Plants. Again, I've heard that this is great. A YouTuber I watch named Nina Montagnier, Nina Montagnier, read this off of her Instagram recently and was really enjoying it. This was in that New York Times article, and it's been on my climate change TBR. And I just think it's very important, if I'm going to be starting to read through some of these books around issues of climate, that I make sure that there are Indigenous voices present. Also, it's just like a super beautiful book. It's a collection of essays, and God, I can't wait. I can't wait to read it. The last one I have from Barnes & Noble is How to Build a Girl by Caitlin Moran. And I'm just trying to like read a variety of genres, but this seems like, is this gonna be a Netflix, or I think this is gonna be like an HBO show or a Netflix show or something by the woman who starred in Booksmart. But this has been brought on my radar a couple of times and I never read it, and it seems fairly, not an easy read, but it seems like it could be just a counterpoint to some of the other reading I've been doing. So I try and get like a wide variety of things to read. The next set I got because they were on like super sale. I don't know if anyone's ever been to BJ's or Costco and realized how cheap their books are. And again, like my preference is to support small indie bookstores or the library. But right now I just have been in these situations where I've either walked past this beautiful lending library, or like I've walked into BJ's, or I've walked into Target, and books are just like on super sale and I just can't say no. And also I live walking distance, or I'm staying walking distance from Barnes & Noble, so yep, it's gotta do better. All of these books I got for less than $10, which is actually insane. Like that's not sustainable for authors. But the first is Elizabeth Gilbert's City of Girls. So this has 1940s vibes, and I had like mixed feelings about Elizabeth Gilbert. I definitely read Eat, Pray, Love when it came out and I enjoyed it, but I was always kind of cognizant of how privileged she was in that story, and I didn't really enjoy anything that came after it. I Have Big Magic, I know people really liked it, I didn't really like it, and I know she had a second book about love, but I never read it. But I have heard good things about this book, and 1940s New York theater world is just like something I would definitely be willing to read. So since it was so inexpensive, I got that. Not super pressing on my TBR. I think there are other books I've gotten that I want to read more. The next one that was also insanely inexpensive was All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. And this is a World War II story, and I've heard good things about this from Read with Cindy and a few other people on YouTube, as well as just it won the Pulitzer Prize, and I feel like, you know, pretty good thing to start reading. So the next book is Stamped from the Beginning, The Definitive History of Racist Ideas in America by Ibram Kendi. And this is a book that's been on my radar for a little while. I've really been wanting to read it, and so to see it at Target, I was like, oh, we gotta get it. So I've already sort of dipped my toe into it, and it's beautifully written, and I'm excited to get through it. This is another book I got at BJ's. So The Truth About Forever by Sarah Dessen. This is one of my favorite books that I read when I was a teenager. It made me want to be a waitress, which is hilarious because I did do that for like 10 years, and by the time I was done with it, I was so done with it. But I just thought Sarah Dessen wrote such relatable characters, dealt with real issues of grief and loss and insecurity and perfectionism and finding yourself through other people, and growing up and parental issues and how do you show up to the world. She includes like real things that happen to teenagers, like drinking and falling in love and fighting with your parents and cursing occasionally. So it's not like a super cleansed teenage novel, which I really liked. I also liked that it doesn't have like a insta-love type thing going on. The love story is more of a slow burn and is based off of shared experiences and interests and getting to know each other over time. Yeah, so I loved this book growing up. I reread it because it just like in a day when I got it from BJ's. It holds up, guys. I love it. Is it the most diverse? No. Does it represent a very particular worldview of like an affluent white teenager? Yes. Is there still something there that's worth reading? I think so, but I also understand that it might not be for everybody. And then the last book of this part of the haul, I guess, is Jenny Han's P.S. I Still Love You. So I read To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I read that actually through my Asian readathon so fast. I think I read it in like 2 hours or 3 hours. And this one I think will be similar. And I liked it. I didn't love it, but again, it was like $8. And I was like, all right, I'll finish through. I'll get through it. It's nice to have a little bit of YA because I have some heavier or just more intellectual books, some sort of darker, sadder books, slower paced books, and then this is a YA. So those were all the books that I bought, quite the stack. And then the last two books I want to talk about really quickly, I have gotten from NetGalley. So thank you, NetGalley, for giving me 2 free books to read ahead of time, or to review. The first is Miss Iceland by Audur Ava Olafsdottir. And so I have just started reading it. I really am enjoying it so far. And then the second book I got from them is How to Walk on Water by Rachel Swearingen. And it is a story collection. So those are, in total, all of my books. I don't even know how many there are. Almost bought 30 books this month. But okay, so those are all the books that I will be slowly working my way through over time. I will keep you updated on those books. Look forward to a couple of reviews coming. I think I'm gonna review The Death of Vivek Oji, and what was the other one I really wanted? Oh, Trick Mirror. Those 2 might be coming soon. But otherwise, I will talk to y'all soon. If you enjoy hanging out with me, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to like this video if you enjoyed it. Please tell me if you have read any of these books. I know I always say that, but I genuinely love hearing if you've read them and if you like them, and which ones you are looking forward to reading yourself. And I will talk to you next video. All right, take care. Be well.